17 News is tracking the possible local impacts of a huge international story developing right now. President Trump could be backing away from possible military intervention in Iran, saying that regime has agreed to halt executions of protesters. Iran's foreign minister confirms that, but also is now blaming Israel for recent unrest and deaths. And notably, President Trump has not said that military option is fully off the table right now.
Now, that unrest in Iran is shaping a lot of people's lives across the world. It's happening thousands of miles away, but it could have some big impacts on people right here in Middle Tennessee, especially if it does continue to escalate. Joining us live this morning is Professor John Phillips from Austin Peay State University. Professor, if the United States does get involved with Iran, what kind of impact could it have on places like Fort Campbell, of course, where we have a very large Army post?
Absolutely, Justin. There are a couple different effects that we might think about. There's some localized ones, like on the Fort Campbell community, where we could see a state of heightened readiness, which would lead to trading disruptions, obviously deployment stress for both active duty military and for their families. And of course, if deployments do happen, then there's a risk for troops deployed in forward bases abroad around the Middle East, because although, of course, Iran can't reach us here in Middle Tennessee, Iran can absolutely reach our forward bases in places like Saudi Arabia or Kuwait. And so for that reason, that will cause some anxiety. And then, of course, in addition to localized effects, they might be broader trade-related effects. So President Trump on Tuesday announced a possibility of retaliatory tariffs. He seems to have backed away from that yesterday. But retaliatory tariffs on countries that do business with Iran. And of course, countries that do business with Iran's main trading partners are China, Russia, and Turkey. And Tennessee does quite a lot of business with China. A lot of Tennessee businesses export to China. And of course, the home building industry imports quite a lot from China. And so we could see rising prices and difficulties in getting our exports to market. And so,
Professor Phillips, a question for you real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're going to run out of time. And I just want to make sure that we address some possible anxiety that people are feeling about the situation, right? I mean, even though we're so far away, there are just folks who are feeling a little uneasy about this. What would you say from a technical and a logistical perspective to perhaps maybe calm some of those concerns, or maybe people do need to be thinking about certain things? What would you say?
Well, again, if you are part of the military community in Tennessee, you know that these things more often than not don't happen. You're asked to get ready, and then, of course, situation de-escalates and you stand down. So you know that it won't necessarily happen, and most of the time it doesn't. But of course, you have to be ready. That is part of the military ethos, is that you have to be ready to go. And of course, that produces some stress. But most of the families have done this a few times before, and so I think we'll be ready to do whatever they need to.
All right. Professor John Phillips there from Austin Peay State University in Clarksville. Thank you so much, Professor. We appreciate it.